They called it fame. He called it a trap. One magazine label nearly destroyed his career. The world saw a charming 80s heartthrob, but behind closed doors, he was drinking too much, doubting himself, and slowly falling apart. This is the real story. Hollywood never wanted to talk about what really happened to Andrew McCarthy, the man who walked away when everyone expected him to stay. No longer alimony, palimony. It's all financial. Love's an illusion. It's the only illusion that counts. My friend, says who? Anyone who's ever been in love. Love sucks. Every day, I share another story from the golden age and the moments that shaped an unforgettable era. If you'd like to keep these memories alive with me, hit subscribe. It costs you nothing, but it means a lot. Thank you for being here. Now, let's begin. In 1985, a magazine article slapped him with the infamous Brat Pack label, and Andrew McCarthy has said it almost wrecked his career. He was the dream guy of the 80s, the sensitive one, the safe choice, the romantic lead in movies like Pretty in Pink. But behind the camera, things were messy. He was drinking too much, struggling to connect with people, and constantly feeling like a fraud. Then in the early 2000s, he did something completely unexpected, something far away from Hollywood. And years later, he returned, but not in the way anyone saw coming. So, what really happened to Andrew McCarthy? Andrew Thomas McCarthy was born on November 29, 1962, in Westfield, New Jersey, a quiet suburb where dreaming big wasn't really the norm. His dad worked in investments and his mom was an artist, but McCarthy has said he always felt something was missing. He calls himself shy and unsure, someone who never quite fit in. Acting became his escape, or maybe his entry point into life itself. He went to NYU's Tisch School of the Arts, learning from some of the same teachers who trained legends like De Niro and Pacino. But McCarthy wasn't about method acting or grim realism. He just wanted to feel something, to step into someone else's shoes for a while. His first real break came in 1983 with a drama where he starred opposite Jacqueline Bisset and a young Rob Lowe. Wasn't a blockbuster, but people noticed him. His piercing blue eyes and that haunted, wistful look made casting directors see a romantic lead. That's exactly what he became. In 1985, he got cast in Heaven Help Us, a small drama about Catholic school kids in the 60s. Again, not a huge hit, but it put him in the right rooms. Directors loved him, producers loved him. He was easy to work with, reliable, and he photographed beautifully. But even then, McCarthy felt like a pretender. Like everyone else had it figured out and he was just faking it. That imposter feeling would stick with him for years. Then 1985 blew everything wide open. Andrew McCarthy was cast in St. Elmo's Fire, ensemble drama about recent college grads navigating adulthood. The cast: Emilio Estevez, Rob Lowe, Demi Moore, Judd Nelson, Ali Sheedy, and Mare Winningham. Basically every under 25 actor in Hollywood at the time. The movie did okay. But what came next was seismic. In June 1985, New York Magazine ran David Bloom's article, Hollywood's Brat Pack, meant to profile Emilio Estevez. It turned into a brutal take. The young cast was painted as shallow, privileged, and interchangeable. Bloom lumped them all together under that dismissive Brat Pack label. McCarthy says that article felt like a death sentence. Suddenly, he wasn't just Andrew McCarthy. He was Andrew McCarthy, Brat Pack member. In Hollywood, once a label sticks, it defines you before you even walk into a room. Still, roles kept coming. In 1986, he starred opposite Molly Ringwald in Pretty in Pink as Blaine McDonough, the rich, preppy guy who falls for the artsy girl from the wrong side of the tracks. McCarthy brought something quietly complicated to the role, a hint of shame. Like Blaine knew he was supposed to be better than he was. The movie was a massive hit, cementing McCarthy as the guy again. The one audiences rooted for, the one who showed up when it counted. But here's what set him apart from most of his peers. He had universal appeal. Women saw him as sweet and romantic, while guys saw him as just a regular dude. He wasn't the coolest guy in the room, but he didn't try to be. And that made him magnetic. Then came less. Then Zero in 1987, and everything shifted based on Bret Easton Ellis's novel. It was a dark, nihilistic glimpse into the lives of rich LA teens, spiraling into drugs and self-destruction. McCarthy played Clay, a college student who returns home to find his best friend, played by Robert Downey Jr., addicted to cocaine and selling himself to pay off debts. It was the most stripped-down, vulnerable performance McCarthy had ever given, and he said it was the most honest one to. By that point, he was drinking heavily himself. Not quite at Downey's level, but enough to understand the emptiness of the character. Later that same year, he starred in Mannequin, a romantic comedy about a guy who falls in love with a store mannequin that comes to life. It was ridiculous, campy, and over the top, but pure fun. A complete 180 from less than zero. It made over $42 million and became a cult classic. That was the thing about Andrew McCarthy in the 80s. He was everywhere but somehow nowhere at once. He was the face on the poster, but even he wasn't sure who he was underneath it. By the 90s, the Brat Pack label had done its damage. McCarthy has been blunt about it. Hollywood didn't know what to do with him once he stopped looking like a teen. He wasn't a traditional leading man, nor a character actor. He had been cast as the romantic teen interest, and when that window closed, so did the opportunities. Fresh Horses in 1988 flopped. Kansas made no impact. Weekend at Bernie's was a hit but hollow. His roles shrank. The phone stopped ringing, and the drinking continued. He started feeling invisible not to the world, but to himself. To escape that stuck feeling, he started traveling. At first it was just a getaway, but over time, it became something deeper. He began writing about the places he visited, not as a celebrity, as a man searching for direction. In the early 2000s, Andrew McCarthy did something almost nobody in Hollywood dares to do. He walked away. He became a travel writer, a good one. Editors admired his honesty, his introspection, his vulnerability. In 2010, he became editor-at-large for National Geographic Traveler. He published books. He found purpose. He also began directing TV episodes across dozens of shows. He liked directing because it wasn't about being seen. It was about shaping a story, collaborating, building something meaningful. His personal life was more complicated. A first marriage that fell apart. A second one that finally felt real because he stopped pretending. Sobriety that came not from rock bottom, but from quietly deciding he didn't want to live numbed anymore. For decades, he avoided the Brat Pack conversation. Then in 2021, he wrote Brat. And in 2024, he directed Brats, the Hulu documentary where he reunited the surviving members to finally face the truth. Not nostalgia, not glamour, honesty. He doesn't romanticize the 80s, he doesn't condemn them. He just understands them now. So what happened to Andrew McCarthy? He didn't disappear, he redefined himself. He stopped being who Hollywood wanted. He stopped performing for other people's approval. He built a life that made him feel whole.